Hi Aries, welcome to the channel. I have a quick reading for you today for the second half of the month of December. And I just went along and I did some pre-shuffling for you. And the card that starts your reading, so what is the energy that you step into the month of December, in the second half of December? I have the Nine of Fire, which in the regular tarot is the Nine of Wands. And I found it quite interesting because the Nine of Wands is a card of limitations, of self-limitations, for fear-based limitations, of fear of asserting yourselves based on past experiences, which I think is very aligned with what we have astrologically going on right now. And we have Chiron currently retrograde in the sign of Aries, so in your sign. So it's in your natural first house. And Chiron talks about all those unhealed wounds, but those wounds that are just so profound and that have been with us for so long that we feel a certain inadequacy around it. It's like, doesn't matter how hard we try, we just can't heal it. And Aries, Chiron in Aries talks about all of our wounds around our leadership abilities, our inabilities of going after what it is that we want, our inabilities around asserting ourselves, which is something that, if we think about Aries, is hard to see that way, right? Chiron in Aries does represent that, so we are all, as a collective, healing our wounds around these factors. But for you, it's happening in your first house, so it's really how you show up to the world. I think that during this transit, it will be a time in your life in which you will be required to heal the wounds around it. So how can you be more assertive? How can you assert yourself? How can you really go after what it is that you want? So with the Nine of Fire opening the reading, it really reminds me of that. It really calls to me back to Chiron being in your first house. And it talks to me in a sense, what is it that you're afraid? You know, what happened to you in the last month, or maybe in the first half of the month of December, that caused you to withdraw a bit, to withdraw your power, to withdraw your assertiveness? What happened to you that makes you now a little bit afraid of asserting yourself, of going after what it is that you want? Are you starting the second half of the month feeling a certain ability around that, feeling that you can't really assert yourself, feeling that you don't know how to go after what you want? Are you feeling a bit powerless in the second half of the month? So these are some of the general impressions that I have, taking a look at how we open your reading. So let's see how the rest of the month will go. Mm-hmm. Okay, so some general advice. Okay, beautiful. So I'm gonna take these. Okay, Aries. So you start here with the moon. And the moon is our journey through the darkness, having only the moonlight to guide us, but we don't exactly know where it is that we are going. And that gives us this sense of fear, of insecurity, of, you know, how everything in the dark, you know, when you are in the dark and there's just some small lights coming in through your window, and all the shadows, they start having some other forms, some other shapes. You know where I'm going with it. The moon card is a bit of that. So how do things look in the light of the moon? How do things look for you when you can't see them completely, when you can only see some shapes, when you can only see some shadows, you know? So the moon card talks to me about it, of that inner faith of just stepping into the darkness and trusting the little light that you have on your way, even if you can't see all of it. And that ties to me a lot with the card that we had opening your reading with the Nine of Fire, because the Nine of Fire talks about this inadequacy, talks about this fear, of this insecurity, of really stepping into it, of what happened in the past that caused you to be so withdrawn right now. And even though the moon is a card of Pisces, you see here that here in the bottom there's a lobster. And because of this lobster, but also the nature of the card itself, for me this is a very Cancerian card, because the sign of Cancer, imagine how is a crab or how is a lobster. They have a very tough exterior, right? Because they have a very soft meat on the inside. So it ties to me with that. It's like with the moon here and the Nine of Fire, it's almost as if you are so afraid of something that hurt you in the past, but not afraid of that situation specifically, but the trauma that caused you. And that made you so insecure right now that you step into a bit, but as soon as you see things going a bit dark, and as soon as it makes you um, not completely trusting the situation, you step back into your shell, you know. So the moon here give me this feeling, and it's together with the star. So I think that this, it's a beautiful reading in a sense, because it tells me that even though you are in this moon energy, you're really pushing yourself forward to come into this star energy. You know, the star comes right after the tower in the tarot. So after everything's destroyed around you, there is still that light of hope. And I think I talked about the myth of Pandora's box in the channel before. I can link it up here. What is the link? What is the video that I talked about it? It was in one of the pick a card readings, but I talk about the Pandora myth and how Pandora is very associated with the star card, because how this star is that hope that was at the bottom of Pandora's box. So after all the suffering, after all the pain, all the diseases are free in the world from the box, you still have the hope coming down in the bottom of it. So I see here that even though you are scared, even though whatever happened to you last month, in the month of November or in the beginning of December, is causing you to feel a bit insecure about what path to follow, you are still going after this star. There is a place where you want to go, and you are moving towards that. You still have that hope that there is something better for you at the end of the month of December, and I think that that's a great mindset to have here. But then I also need to see that right after the star we have this King of Cups in the reverse. So this is how it came out to me. Yes, this is how it came out. So we have the moon, the star, and the King of Cups. And I do think that you did deal with someone who was quite emotionally immature and also emotionally manipulative with you in the month of November and the beginning of the month of December. I'm not gonna keep repeating these dates, but in the recent past. So I feel like you kept dealing with someone who was very immature, a bit emotionally manipulative. They looked like a king in the exterior, and I think that you did believe them to be a king. And I think that that's part of what caused you to keep fearing the situation right now, because you did believe this person to be someone else. So you did believe in them to be a real King of Cups, yeah, a real king, but they showed themselves to you like this in the end. Okay, so this is how you see them at first in the upright, but then when you get to know them, you see that, yeah, they don't put their money where their mouth is. And I think that there was a lot of deception with it here, because right under the moon, we got the Seven of Swords in the reverse. So I do think that this person, whoever this person was, they did have a lot of deception around you. And even though you are surrounded by the energy of the moon, so you don't see everything, you don't see things clearly, you are also quite intuitive, because the moon is a very intuitive card. So even if you don't know exactly what it is that this person did to you, Aries, you feel it. You feel that there's more to the situation that you are seeing. You know, you just have this intuition that there's something going on there, that they are hiding something that you are not completely aware of. But then moving on, underneath the star, we do have the Four of Swords in the reverse. And with the Four of Swords in the reverse, but right after the star, because the Four of Swords in the upright, it talks about being in a meditative state, and going inwards, and checking in with yourself, and just being in silence, withdrawing a bit. I see this as my minor hermit card. This would be my minor hermit card. So, but you are in the reverse, but coming right under the star, I think that you did go in already, because whatever the situation was, I think it is in the past, at least for most of you. I think that this is something that happened maybe a few months ago, a month ago, and you went in, and you did check in with yourself, you did withdraw to try and understand what was going on inside of you, but you are coming out of that state already. Also because you are having the realization that there was indeed something going on, that this person wasn't indeed who they were pretending to be. And then we also have the Lovers in the reverse. So the love that you thought was real, actually you found out that it was quite sour. Look how both of them are in the reverse. So you found out that your king, the person who, and the king can be either whatever gender, okay, or a situation also, even though it's a king, is a masculine energy, but the gender doesn't really matter here. It's just the kind of energy that this person was portraying. But what you thought was real love with someone who was a king, someone who had the responsibility, the power of a king, they actually showed up like this. So you found out that that love that you thought existed, that person wasn't so much of a soulmate as you thought they were. This love wasn't as pure, as stable, and this person wasn't as mature and committed as you thought they were. So now, closing your reading, I do see you moving on from here in the second half of December, because with the moon, we do have the Ten of Swords in the reverse here. Although sometimes the Ten of Swords in reverse can indicate a lack of an ending, something that didn't come to an end yet. I actually am seeing this in a different way in this reading. Intuitively, I'm feeling it differently. How I feel is that since the whole reading already pointed that you are coming out of this situation, I think that this is more the morning after the dark night of the soul. So you went through the breakup, you went through this ending of whatever ending that was, and you did leave the Ten of Swords. You did go through all the pain and all the ending and putting the final nails in the coffin. But I think that you already went through that, and you can expect these swords. And this is what I'm seeing in my head is like, I look at this card and it's in the reverse, and I see these swords just falling out of this person's back. So this card reversed, I just see these swords falling out, and you becoming free of this ending. Also because when we look at this card in the upright, you see how there is a sunrise on the back. There is a sunrise on the back of the card. So there is still a very dark sky, but the sun is rising. But when it's in the reverse, it gives me the impression that actually the sunrise has already come, because you see more of the blue, and I see this as part of the sky, and the sun has already risen. So I really see you going and moving away from the situation in the second half of the month of December. And then the other two cards that come after this Ten of Swords in the reverse, I really love to see them like this, because I have the Knight of Swords in the reverse, and then I have the Queen of Wands. And the Knight of Swords in the reverse here, it's right under. I'm actually seeing this like this. This is how it's showing up to me. Don't know if you can see it. So I have the Star, the Four of Swords in reverse, and then the Knight of Swords in the reverse. Did I say it correctly? The Star, the Four of Swords in reverse, and the Knight of Swords in the reverse. Yes. So this is how I see it. And what I see with this Knight of Swords in the reverse here is that after the Four of Swords in the reverse, you gained a lot of clarity. You gained a lot of growth, of maturity, and you're not willing to do things out of a rush anymore, which is something very Aries. You are a cardinal fire sign, so when Aries wants something, they just shoot, they just go, like suddenly they are running out of that door. And that's pretty much how the Knight of Swords is. He's a fast mover. He just goes into the battle, he just goes into attack. But here we have it reversed. So even though it comes to me with the Nine of Fire from the beginning, in which you are having a bit of difficulty in asserting yourself, in like moving forward, you are holding back a bit, I see that actually this energy comes from a certain maturity after going through the situation, in which you know that you don't need to charge forward as if nothing else matters. You know that you can wait, you can think before acting. You don't need to just go in a rush, you don't need to just go out of impulse into whatever situation. So the Knight of Swords here talks to me about you being less impulsive. That's the word, actually. Talks about you being less impulsive, of you waiting out the situation, just feeling around what it is that you're gonna do, and then thinking straight and not just jumping into it. So that ties very nicely to me and explains a lot of the Nine of Fire in the beginning. So especially with Chiron retrograde, is a process that you're really doing inwardly. You are realizing that in order to assert yourself better, you can't just go out of an impulse. You need to think, you need to strategize behind it. So this is a very internal process in the month of December. And then tying here your reading, we have the Queen of Wands, which I also love here, because we have the King of Cups, we have the Lovers in the reverse, and then we have the Queen of Wands, which tells me that even though you put a lot of your time, your energy and your efforts into someone else and into something else, into a relationship that you idealized in your mind, you are now putting that power back inside yourself. And that I absolutely love, because the Queen of Wands is a beautiful card, and it's very fiery. It is very Aries. Even though it's not an Aries card, it is a very fiery card. So it is a lot of personal power being gained here from the situation. And you see how she dresses in yellow and red. She's very prosperous, but she's very mental. She plans ahead. She's a very strong queen. She strategizes. But she also has the strength, the stamina to go after what it is that she desires. And I love that you're taking away the power from this person who hurt you in the past, and you're putting it back into yourself. You're focusing on the kingdom that you want to build for yourself. Okay, Aries? So I'm just gonna close your reading with an oracle card for you. And let's see, I want to give you a monology card for the second half of the month of December. So let's see what we have here. Yes. So I got two cards for you. One of them is, I'm gonna start with this one. Nothing will come of this situation. So what this card tells me is about this person, whoever this person was in the past, is just a final reassurance that if you still had hopes for it to work, or if you still want to see this King of Cups in reverse as a King of Cups upwards, this card is telling you that no, nothing will come out of this situation. The best thing for you now, it is to focus on yourself, to bring back the power to yourself and be the Queen of Wands that you are. And this doesn't matter if you are a male or female again, okay? Does what your gender, what gender you associate yourself with, you recognize, that doesn't really matter. The Queen of Wands is just an energy, it's just an archetype, okay? So that's not dependent on your gender. But yes, nothing will come out of the situation with this person. The best right now is to focus your energy in yourself for the rest of the month of December. And then we have this beautiful gibbous moon with you are very close to achieving your goal. So again, keep charging forward, keep focus on your own goals, on the kingdom that you want to build for yourself, because you are the queen of this kingdom and you don't need a false king to be in it. You know, like just focus on your own power, just focus on what you're building for yourself, and the rest will come in whatever time it is supposed to come. But right now it's time for you to take leadership in your own life and build your own kingdom. Okay, Aries, so this is all I have for you, and I'll see you next month in the reading of January. Take care. Bye bye.